All right, guys, so if you turn to page 8 in your packets. Now, this class, I didn't grade your packets. I did my other classes yesterday. When I grade your packets, guys, I just go through, I look at my notes, and I compare them to your notes. If they look the same, then you get a stamp on each page, and then at the end of the packet, I count up all your stamps, and that's your classwork grade for doing the notes. So whatever I put up here, guys, you want to add to your note, is how to find the length of an arc. Okay, now an arc is like pizza crust. So if you're one of those people that don't like the crust on pizza, and you eat everything except for the crust, what you're left with is an arc. So that shape that you're left with, just the pizza crust, okay, that's called an arc. Like your eyebrow is an arc. All right, so if we wanted to find the length of that, how long is your eyebrow? How long is this pizza crust? That's the same as finding the arc length. That's what we're working on today. All right, now the arc length is related to the radius. All right, and let me just show you. So we practiced drawing radians yesterday. All right. So here's one full radian. So if I drew an arc that went to there, that's 1 radian. I want to do 1/4 of a radian. So your drawing is going to look something like that. That would be 0.25 rads. Okay, so I'm going to kind of just estimate. Draw a little arrow. That's my theta. Okay, now it says find S. So we're trying to find this. This is S. This is R. This is theta. So now I take this formula and I plug that in. S equals R theta. Okay, don't know S. R is 2. Theta is 0.25. And then you multiply those out. Okay, and you end up with 0.5. All right, now you got to figure out what the label is on this. Okay, so the label, this is a length, guys, like feet, miles, yards, inches. So since this is a length, the label on this is going to be the same as this label. So that's meters, 1/2 of a meter. That's how we measure length, is in, it's not like square units, not square meters, just meters, feet, inches, etc. All right? Okay, now this one, we want to get the radius, and we know the angle and the length, but we don't know the radius. Okay, so let's sketch 1/3 of a radian. Okay, so if you look at our radian picture, that's 1 radian. So we want to sketch 1/3 of that. So if you cut that rad into 3 parts, 1, 2, 3, 1/3's about there. Okay, so we're going to make that sketch. Okay, this is 1/3. And if you can't squeeze it in there, you can just draw an arrow to it. 1/3. Okay. That's 1/3 in there. Now S, that's the arc length. This is the arc. So that 2 is this length right here. Because that's what S stands for. So the question is, now we're trying, if I highlighted the part that we're trying to get, we're trying to find that. What's R? So now you take this, you plug in what you know, and you solve for what you don't know. So arc length equals the radius times the angle. Okay, this is 2. Don't know that. And this is 1/3. Okay, so to get R by itself, guys, I'm going to undo multiplying by 1/3. So I'm going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal of 1/3, which is 3/1. So multiply by 3/1, multiply by 3/1. Okay. So then R, that's going to be 6/1, which is just 6. Okay, this is a length, so remember, these two labels are always going to be the same. Whatever the label is on arc length, that's the label on the radius. So this is 6 feet. Okay. All right. Okay, the radius is 5 miles. All right, so I'm going to put 5 on my radius right here. Okay, now it doesn't, this one doesn't tell me how big my angle is. See, I don't know how big to open that. It doesn't tell me the angle. It tells me how long the arc is. It's 3 miles. All right, so if this distance, guys, is 5 miles, that's 5 miles. If you wrap that around here, so if I wrap that around, that arc would be 5 miles. So I want to draw one that's a little bit shorter because it's only 3 miles. See, this would be, this length right now would be 5 miles because it's the same as the radius. So I'm just going to eyeball an arc that's a little bit less than the radius, and I'm going to put a 3 on it. Okay, now your job is to figure out what's this angle. So now our unknown is this. We're trying to figure out what that is. So on each one of these, I highlighted the part that I'm trying to get. I'm trying to figure this part out. All right. So arc length equals the radius times the angle. So I got 3 Remember, this is miles. Radius 5 miles times theta. So I'm just going to divide by 5. So divide that side, and the miles are going to cancel, guys, and I'm going to have radians left over. So 3 divided by 5, you can leave it as a fraction. Or depending on the question, you could convert that to a decimal. So if I wanted it as a decimal, I just divide it out, guys. 3 divided by 5. That's 0.6. Either one is this, it's the same thing. Okay. Okay, all right. Now, last example, and then you're going to try 4 of these. All right, you know the radius, you know the angle, what's the arc length? Okay, so I know this is 2 inches. Okay, I'm going to eyeball 30 degrees. So, I don't know, somewhere about there. And the question is, how long is this arc? So we're trying to figure out S. Okay, so I take my formula. S equals R theta. S equals, R is 2. Are you Cavett folks almost done? Is that who's packing up? Okay. Just before you leave, you can't put 30 in there. Okay? Because 30 is in degrees, you got to convert it to radians, and then you put that answer in there. So for you Cavett folks, that's the Math Excel assignment. Okay? And that will be due Friday. Alrighty. So we're going to take this now, and before we can plug it in, we got to convert. So we'll just put a little arrow. We'll do it. Okay, 30 degrees times pi over 180. That's what you did yesterday for your assignment. Okay, so that's 30 pi over 180. Okay, and I can, if I want, I'll have my calculator reduce. Now, remember, when you reduce, you're not putting the pi in. So 30 divided by 180, and I'm going to change that into a fraction. So that's 1/6. Now I can do it by hand, divide both of these by 10, and then I can divide 3 by 3, which is 1, 18 divided by 3, which is 6, and I get the same thing. 1 times pi over 6. So this is the same as pi over 6. Okay, that's what goes in right here. So we had to convert it first. All right, and now we're going to multiply that out. 2 pi over 6. What's the label? Radians or inches or degrees? Inches, right. Now, depending on the question, guys, you'd either reduce that, that's pi over 3 inches. So if the question says the exact answer, or that as a decimal would be pi divided by 3. There it is as a decimal, 1.05. So when you're doing the Math Excel on this, you just have to read the instructions. Okay, that's the answer rounded using pi on my calculator. That's called the exact answer. Okay. All right, so those are the 4 basic problems that you see when you're working on this. Okay. All right, now let's see how much time we got. 9:40. Okay. All right, everybody got that? I can move it. Okay. All right, flip that over. Okay, now, I'm going to have you practice doing these here in a minute, but before we do that, we're going to do one of these clock problems because you're going to see these on your Math Excel. Okay, so everybody, let's skip down to number 9. Okay, so it says a minute hand. Okay, the minute hand is 6 inches long. All right, so if we were to draw a picture of this, okay, this is our minute hand right here. Okay, this is 6 inches. How far does the tip of the minute hand move in 15 minutes? Okay, so that's 6 inches. Okay, now we're going to draw what it would look like after 15 minutes. Okay. So tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, 15 minutes. All right, now what angle did it move? How many degrees is that, guys? Pardon me? 90. All right, so how many degrees did the minute hand travel? 90. Convert the degrees into radians. Well, we already did 90. Did it yesterday or the day before. Okay. 90 degrees is pi over 2 radians. So we don't have to convert it, it's done. Okay, so I'm going to take that and change it into pi over 2. Now put it into the arc length formula. Okay, so our angle here was pi over 2, and the question is asking for how long this is right here. That's S. That's the arc length. Okay, so S equals R theta. So R was 6, theta was pi over 2. So that's 6 pi over 2, which is 3 pi. And my label is inches. So that's the exact answer. Okay. If I needed the decimal answer, then I just do 3 pi. 9.42. Okay.